Hey warrior, we exist in a world constantly telling us our dreams require external validation, our choices need approval from others, and every obstacle demands someone holding our hand. Society softly suggests we're somehow unfinished without perpetual connection, that solitude equates to loneliness, that journeying alone signals some form of failure. Yet what if I revealed that history's greatest warriors, not merely on battlefields but throughout life itself, uncovered their authentic power only upon mastering the art of standing utterly alone? Marcus Aurelius, that philosopher-emperor, inscribed in his personal reflections, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking." Here stood a man commanding the Roman Empire, surrounded by countless thousands. Still he recognized genuine strength originates internally, from confronting yourself without interference, without another's viewpoint overwhelming your internal voice. Really consider this. Every significant breakthrough you've experienced occurred precisely when you ceased awaiting permission and began forging your unique direction. Each authentic moment of development emerged when you confronted your fears independently. When you selected bravery over convenience. When you determined your personal vision outweighed their acceptance. The Stoic warrior doesn't travel alone from hatred of humanity. They journey independently because they recognize meaningful bonds with others can only develop after mastering connection with yourself. This isn't about growing indifferent or detached. This concerns becoming so profoundly anchored in your personal principles, so certain about your direction, that you can offer from fullness rather than deficiency. Once you perfect solitary wandering, loneliness doesn't consume you. Liberation does. Liberated from the draining pursuit of approval. Liberated from the confinement of others' anticipations. Liberated to genuinely love and contribute from your authentic being. The Stoic warrior's journey presents difficulties, yet it alone leads toward authentic satisfaction. Today we'll examine 7 transformative principles that will reshape your perception of isolation, your method of confronting difficulties, and your development of unwavering internal resilience. Should this connect with you, press that like button, share your reflections in a comment, and become a channel subscriber. Crucially, experience every segment of this presentation. Each principle builds sequentially, and grasping all 7 proves essential for truly comprehending the Stoic warrior's path. Place this declaration in the comments. I journey independently. I ascend independently. I triumph independently. Principle 1. Welcome the hallowed isolation. The Stoic warrior's initial principle involves learning to perceive isolation not as penalty but as consecrated territory. Most individuals dread solitude because they've never mastered enjoying their own presence. They populate every silent moment with stimulation, browsing, conversing, absorbing, whatever prevents confronting themselves uncomfortably. Yet here's their misunderstanding. Within that unease rests your supreme treasure. Seneca, among history's foremost Stoic thinkers. Rather than treating imposed isolation as suffering, he employed it to cultivate philosophical wisdom that would shape humanity across millennia. He observed, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. His seclusion wasn't void. It provided fertile soil where insight flourished. During genuine solitude, something remarkable occurs. Others' viewpoints fade audibly. The pressure to execute, satisfy, pretend, everything vanishes. What persists is the exposed, unvarnished reality of your identity beneath every facade. This terrifies most people since they've constructed their complete identity around outside affirmation. Yet for the Stoic warrior, this represents emancipation. Reflect on your last experience sitting absolutely silently with yourself exceeding 10 minutes. No device, no melodies, no diversions, simply you alongside your contemplations. Should that seem intolerable, you're precisely where most people exist, frightened of your own consciousness. Yet your consciousness serves as your paramount instrument. And like any instrument, it requires upkeep, focus, and development. Hallowed isolation provides space for developing your ethical compass. With nobody present to impress, nobody evaluating, nobody performing for, you discover your authentic convictions, genuine values, actual composition. Within these peaceful intervals you perceive your profoundest insight whispering, direction submerged beneath constant connectivity's chaos. The Stoic warrior intentionally schedules hallowed isolation as they'd schedule marathon preparation. They vigorously guard it because they recognize everything else in existence, relationships, accomplishments, global influence, originates from the lucidity and resilience cultivated during these tranquil intervals. Begin modestly. 5 minutes of purposeful isolation each morning. No schedule, no achievement targets, merely sitting with yourself, watching thoughts without assessment. As you grow comfortable with your own presence, lengthen the duration. Take solitary walks minus podcasts or melodies. Consume meals silently. Journey independently occasionally. You'll discover that isolation isn't vacant. It overflows with potential. It births concepts, nurtures bravery, helps you recall your identity before the world prescribed who to become. The Stoic warrior recognizes everyone else contends for external territory. Yet the essential conflict, determining everything else, unfolds during quiet intervals when you're utterly alone with your spirit. Principle 2, your perception of me remains my concern. The second principle distinguishing the Stoic warrior from the masses involves this transformative viewpoint. What others think regarding you falls completely beyond your influence and consequently remains entirely irrelevant to your direction. Most individuals exist their entire lives confined by viewpoints that don't even originate with them. They determine actions based on parental assumptions, friendly speculation, social media strangers' assessments. The Stoic warrior shatters these invisible constraints. Eleanor Roosevelt, while not Stoic, expressed this reality flawlessly, observing, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Yet let's examine this more deeply. Epictetus, rising from enslavement to become history's most impactful educators, taught that suffering arises not from occurrences themselves but from our assessments regarding those occurrences. When someone criticizes, insults, or rejects your decisions, they're not genuinely harming you, they're exposing something about themselves. Here's the uncomfortable reality most cannot tolerate. That person judging your life decisions. They're likely miserable within their own existence. The companion questioning your aspirations. They've probably abandoned their own. The relative criticizing your direction. They're frequently transferring their personal anxieties and disappointments onto you. Their viewpoint isn't concerning you whatsoever. It's about them processing their individual suffering, restrictions, unrealized capability. The Stoic warrior cultivates what I designate viewpoint immunity. This doesn't require becoming arrogant or rejecting genuine input. It means developing discernment to separate constructive guidance from individuals genuinely concerned with your development from the surrounding noise of those simply unsettled by your autonomy. Reflect on when someone's disapproval genuinely troubled you. Now question yourself, does this person inhabit the existence I desire? Do they exhibit qualities I respect? Are they communicating from affection and insight or from personal fear and restriction? Most often, you'll recognize their viewpoint carries no significance because it originates from a place you'd rather not occupy. The Stoic warrior additionally recognizes that pursuing approval represents a futile endeavor because satisfaction never arrives. You could satisfy 99 individuals, yet that one person's rejection will continue troubling you. You could accomplish everything society prescribes, yet someone will always await ready to dismantle it. The sole viewpoint genuinely significant remains the one you hold regarding yourself when confronting your reflection each day's conclusion. This principle demands everyday practice. Each time you notice yourself approaching a decision based on others' potential reactions, stop, question yourself, what would I do if nobody observed? What selection matches my principles regardless of others' responses? Then take that action. Begin modestly. Wear something you adore that others might not comprehend. Share meaningful ideas even when unpopular. Pursue joyful activities despite appearing unusual to others. Each authentic living act, regardless of others' views, strengthens your liberation capacity. Principle 3, the resilience discovered in self-sufficiency. The Stoic warrior's third principle involves recognizing that self-sufficiency isn't selfishness. It provides the groundwork for authentic service toward others. We inhabit a culture confusing independence with separation, self-reliance with selfishness. Yet the reality remains, individuals standing firmly on their own feet genuinely lift others upward. You cannot offer what you lack, and you cannot guide where you've refused to journey independently. Ralph Waldo Emerson, significantly shaped by Stoic philosophy, observed, nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. The Stoic warrior recognizes depending on others for emotional stability, self-worth, or fundamental requirements leaves you exposed and fragile. Not because others prove unreliable, but because it positions your power within another's control. Consider aircraft safety guidance. Secure your oxygen supply before assisting others. This isn't selfishness, it's wisdom. Collapsing while attempting to help someone else first leaves two individuals endangered rather than one. This identical principle extends across existence's every dimension. When you cultivate abilities, mindset, and internal resources for managing your own challenges, you become a strength source for others rather than a burden. Self-sufficiency means developing what I designate emotional autonomy. This involves processing your own feelings, resolving your own difficulties, and sustaining your own tranquility without constantly requiring others to rescue, validate, or repair you. It doesn't mean never requesting assistance. It means seeking help from strength rather than desperation. The self-sufficient individual approaches relationships differently. Rather than pursuing someone to complete them, they pursue someone to complement them. Instead of seeking others to occupy their emptiness, they labor toward becoming whole personally. This generates relationships founded on mutual development and authentic affection rather than dependency and dysfunction. Practically, self-sufficiency means cultivating abilities across diverse life areas. Learn preparing nourishing meals independently. Understand fundamental financial administration. Develop emotional regulation methods. Build physical power and stamina. Nurture intellectual curiosity. The more capable you become managing life's fundamental necessities, the greater freedom you possess pursuing what genuinely matters. Yet here's the deeper dimension: spiritual self-sufficiency. This means developing your personal connection with significance, direction, and reality. Don't delegate your spiritual existence to others' explanations. Study ancient writings personally. Contemplate life's essential questions. Develop your personal understanding regarding what renders existence worthwhile. The Stoic warrior recognizes that self-sufficiency ultimately concerns accepting complete responsibility for your life experience. No longer blaming situations, other people, or misfortune for your unhappiness. No longer awaiting someone else to rescue, motivate, or authorize you to live completely. When you accept complete responsibility for your existence, you simultaneously claim complete power over your existence. Begin constructing self-sufficiency today. Identify one area where you're excessively dependent on others. Perhaps emotional support. Perhaps practical abilities, perhaps decision-making. Take one modest step toward independence within that area. The objective isn't needing nobody. It's selecting connection from strength rather than desperation. Principle 4. Failure represents your personal educational institution. The fourth principle defining the Stoic warrior follows. They don't merely tolerate failure. They welcome it, scrutinize it, and extract every lesson it provides. While others flee failure, manufacture justifications, or pretend it doesn't impact them, the Stoic warrior sits privately with their failures and poses the essential question: what instruction does this offer me? Thomas Edison, questioned regarding his 1,000 unsuccessful attempts creating the light bulb, famously responded, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I discovered 1,000 approaches that didn't function." This transcends optimistic thinking. It represents the mindset of someone recognizing that failure doesn't oppose success. It provides success's fundamental material. Yet here's what most motivational speakers won't disclose. This process unfolds privately. When you fail publicly, people offer sympathy, guidance, or condemnation. But the genuine effort, the profound examination of what went wrong and why, occurs in solitude. It unfolds during those peaceful moments when you discard ego, justifications, and external interference and honestly examine your decisions, preparation, and implementation. The Stoic warrior establishes what I designate a failure examination. Following each substantial setback, they spend private time analyzing three elements. What fell within my control that I might have handled differently? What exceeded my control requiring acceptance? What learning will strengthen me for subsequent attempts? This isn't self-punishment. It's self-education. Marcus Aurelius encountered military losses, political treachery, and personal grief. Yet within his private reflections, he recorded, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood obstacles aren't barriers, they're curriculum. Each failure provides specialized instruction in precisely what you need learning to advance further. Most individuals avoid this process because discomfort arises. It requires acknowledging errors, recognizing weaknesses, and enduring unfulfilled expectations pain. But the Stoic warrior knows comfort opposes development. They'd rather confront honest self-examination's temporary discomfort than repeating identical errors' permanent discomfort. Here's the paradox. The more willingly you fail privately, the less likely you'll fail significantly. When you've privately processed your failures, extracted lessons, and implemented adjustments, you become anti-fragile, strengthened by stress, not despite it. The failure examination additionally exposes patterns. Perhaps you consistently underestimate project timelines. Perhaps you avoid difficult conversations until crisis emerges. Perhaps you base decisions on emotion rather than logic. These patterns only become visible when you're honest with yourself in solitude. Begin your personal failure practice. When something doesn't proceed as intended, resist immediate comfort or distraction seeking. Instead, schedule private time experiencing the situation. Write about it. Which factors were within your control? Which assumptions proved incorrect? What would you do differently? What strength did this experience develop that you previously lacked? Remember, every expert in any field simply represents someone who's committed more errors than beginners and learned from each. Your failures don't demonstrate unsuitability for success. They prove your active participation. Place this declaration in the comments. Every failure represents my personal lesson in becoming unstoppable. Principle 5. Constructing your internal stronghold. The Stoic warrior's fifth principle involves building what ancient thinkers designated the inner citadel. An impenetrable fortress of mental resilience standing firm regardless of external turbulence. This isn't about erecting walls excluding others. It concerns creating internal space that nobody can penetrate, corrupt, or destroy without your consent. Epictetus, among history's foremost educators, grasped this principle exceptionally. He observed, "No one can hurt you without your permission." Contemplate the profound reality within those words. Physical injury may affect your body, yet your internal stronghold, your principles, your character, your tranquility remain yours to defend or surrender. Constructing this internal fortress requires understanding the distinction between what Stoics term impressions and judgments. An impression represents what occurs to you. Someone criticizes your work. You lose investment funds. A relationship concludes. You encounter health difficulties. These impressions frequently exceed your control. Yet your judgment regarding these impressions, their meaning, their impact on your worth, your subsequent response, that remains entirely within your fortress boundaries. Most individuals possess no fortress whatsoever. They remain utterly exposed to every opinion wind, circumstance shift, emotional turbulence approaching. When someone speaks harshly, their entire day collapses. When plans fail, they descend into hopelessness. When others succeed, they feel diminished. They've surrendered their inner peace keys to anyone wishing to take them. The Stoic warrior's fortress features multiple defensive layers. The outer wall represents perspective, capacity viewing current challenges within your complete life context, human history, all things temporary nature. When someone insults you, perspective reminds you their words expose their character, not yours. When encountering setbacks, perspective reveals this too will pass. The second layer represents principles, a distinct value set guiding your decisions regardless of external pressure. These aren't rigid rules imposed externally, but carefully considered convictions about what renders life worthwhile. When you understand your position, nobody can make you accept anything. Your fortress's inner keep represents what I designate unshakable identity. Understanding you aren't your circumstances, functions, possessions, or even thoughts and feelings. You represent the observer witnessing all these elements, the consciousness experiencing them. This essential self remains untouched by external events because it exists independently from them. Constructing this fortress requires daily effort. Each time you select your response rather than automatically reacting, you reinforce the walls. Each time you act according to your principles despite external pressure, you deepen the foundation. Each time you discover peace amid chaos, you expand the internal sanctuary. The fortress additionally contains windows, openings permitting connection with others and world service, yet on your terms rather than theirs. The Stoic warrior isn't isolated. They're sovereign. They fully engage with existence while preserving internal autonomy. Here's what's powerful about this internal fortress. The stronger it becomes, the more generously you can treat others. When you're not constantly defending emotional territory, you possess energy assisting others construct their own fortresses. When others' success doesn't threaten you, you can genuinely celebrate it. When you're not dependent on others' approval, you can offer honest feedback serving their development. Begin constructing your fortress today. Identify one area where you're excessively emotionally dependent on external circumstances. Perhaps your mood depends on others' opinions or your self-worth depends on achievements. Practice sustaining internal peace within that area regardless of external events. Remember, everyone encounters life's storms. The question isn't whether difficulties will arrive. It's whether you'll have constructed a fortress sufficiently strong to weather them while preserving your principles, peace, and capacity serving others. Principle 6, the bravery disappointing others. The Stoic warrior's sixth principle perhaps proves most challenging for most individuals accepting. The readiness disappointing others to remain true to yourself. This isn't about cruelty or thoughtlessness. It concerns recognizing that pleasing everyone proves not merely impossible. It betrays your authentic self and ultimately serves nobody well. Aristotle observed that avoiding criticism requires speaking nothing, doing nothing, being nothing. The Stoic warrior rejects this invisibility path. They understand that authentic living means some individuals will feel disappointed by your choices, disagree with your principles, or become upset by your boundaries. They've accepted this reality because they recognize the alternative proves far worse. A pretense existence satisfying nobody, including yourself. Most individuals dread disappointing others because they've confused being liked with being respected, being accommodating with being valuable. They consent when meaning refusal. They pursue goals not their own. They maintain relationships draining their energy, all because they cannot tolerate someone's potential upset. Yet here's the paradox. People respect you more with clear boundaries than without any. The Stoic warrior recognizes that disappointment frequently signals correct decisions. When you select your principles over others' expectations, some individuals will feel disappointed. When you pursue your authentic direction rather than others' prescribed path, disappointment proves inevitable. When you establish healthy boundaries instead of perpetual availability, individuals exploiting your compliance will feel disappointed. This principle requires what I designate strategic disappointment. The conscious choice to let some individuals down to authentically show up for genuinely significant people and purposes. You cannot offer your best to everyone. Thus, you must select where investing your energy, time, and emotional resources. Consider parents pushing children toward undesired careers. The child faces a choice. Disappoint parents by following personal direction or disappoint themselves living another's dream. The Stoic warrior chooses disappointing parents because they understand that inauthentic living ultimately disappoints everyone, including parents desiring their child's happiness. The bravery disappointing others additionally applies to smaller daily interactions. It means declining social invitations when needing solitude. It means refusing gossip participation even when popularity might increase. It means maintaining your standards even when others consider you excessively particular or rigid. Each authentic choice act builds your bravery capacity. Yet this principle carries responsibility. The Stoic warrior doesn't disappoint others carelessly or cruelly. They communicate boundaries clearly and kindly. They acknowledge others' feelings while maintaining position. They distinguish between disappointing someone's expectations and disrespecting them as individuals. Wisdom also exists in strategically selecting your disappointments. You cannot fight every battle or oppose every expectation. The Stoic warrior selects hills worth dying upon, situations where compromising principles would damage integrity or derail purpose. For everything else, they discover respectful approaches remaining true to themselves. This principle's most profound truth holds that individuals genuinely loving you desire your authenticity. Even when your authenticity occasionally disappoints them, they'd rather know the real you and sometimes disagree with your choices than love a false version created to please them. Begin practicing this courage in small ways. When someone next requests something misaligned with your principles or priorities, practice declining kindly yet firmly. Notice how the world doesn't end upon disappointing someone. In fact, you might discover relationships becoming more honest and meaningful when people understand your actual position. The Stoic warrior knows that a life spent avoiding all disappointment ultimately disappoints existence's most significant person, yourself. Principle 7. Triumph through self-mastery. The Stoic warrior's seventh and final principle involves recognizing that genuine victory alone concerns victory over yourself. While the world obsesses over defeating others, accumulating more, or achieving external recognition, the Stoic warrior knows that ultimate conquest means mastering your own mind, emotions, and impulses. This represents victory nobody can remove because it exists entirely within your control. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese thinker, captured this reality perfectly. He who conquers others demonstrates strength. He who conquers himself demonstrates might. The Stoic warrior embodies this might not through force or aggression, but through self-discipline's quiet power, emotional regulation, and conscious choice. Self-mastery isn't about suppressing humanity or becoming emotionally mechanical. It's about becoming your inner experience's conscious director rather than its helpless victim. It represents the difference between emotion-driven existence and using emotions as information. It represents the difference between thought-controlled existence and learning detached observation. Every day presents countless opportunities for this internal victory. When someone cuts you off in traffic, do you react with rage or select your response? When facing criticism, do you immediately defend or attack, or pause considering potentially useful feedback? When tempted toward procrastinating important work, do you automatically surrender, or act aligned with long-term interests? These moments might appear small, yet they're where self-mastery develops. Each time you select your response rather than automatically reacting, you strengthen what Stoics designated the ruling faculty, your conscious choice capacity. Each impulse victory, each chosen patience moment, each wisdom-based rather than emotion-based decision builds personal power's ultimate form. The Stoic warrior understands that external victories often prove hollow if inner defeat accompanies them. Individuals achieving great success while anger, fear, or ego controls them haven't genuinely won anything. They've merely rearranged external circumstances while remaining internally enslaved. Yet individuals maintaining peace, acting with integrity, consciously selecting responses have achieved something no external force can diminish. Self-mastery additionally means mastering your relationship with desire itself. This doesn't mean eliminating all wants or becoming passionless. It means distinguishing between preferences and attachments, between healthy ambition and desperate need. The Stoic warrior can desire things without that desire controlling them. They can pursue goals without devastation if those goals remain unachieved. This principle culminates everything we've examined. Sacred solitude provides space for self-knowledge. Independence from others' opinions liberates authentic action. Self-reliance provides conscious choice's foundation. Learning from failure builds wisdom. Daily practice strengthens your internal fortress. Internal validation removes external dependencies. Detachment creates emotional freedom. Your internal fortress protects your autonomy. The courage disappointing others maintains your integrity. All these principles serve the ultimate objective, becoming your own experience's master. Upon achieving this mastery, you walk alone, not from antisocial tendency, but from self-sufficiency. You rise alone, not from selfishness, but from strength sufficient lifting others. You win alone, not from indifference toward others, but from internal victory rendering you unassailable. Begin your self-mastery journey today. Notice one automatic reaction pattern within your life and practice selecting your response instead. Place this declaration in the comments. I am my own mind, emotions, and destiny's master. The Stoic warrior's path isn't easy, yet it alone leads toward genuine freedom. Within a dependence-teaching world, you've learned independence. Within a conformity-demanding culture, you've chosen authenticity. Where others seek external validation, you've built internal strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking. You now possess 7 principles helping you think like a warrior, act like a philosopher, and live like someone recognizing true power originates internally. Remember, walking alone doesn't mean loneliness. It means freedom. Rising alone doesn't mean selfishness. It means strength sufficient serving others. Winning alone doesn't mean disregarding others. It means your victory roots so deeply in character that no external force can remove it. The world requires more people completing internal work, standing in truth without needing others' permission, loving without attachment and serving without expectation. The world requires more Stoic warriors. Should this message connect with you, like this video, share it with someone needing to hear it. Place your favorite principle in the comments and subscribe for more ancient wisdom transforming modern lives. Your inner mastery journey begins now. Place this final declaration in the comments. I walk the Stoic warrior's path, alone, strong, and free.